Dispute over horse barn closures at the Washington County Fairgrounds has escalated into a courtroom battle, with both sides now suing each other. 6 longtime renters at the horse barn say the fair board violated Ohio's open meetings law. The lawsuit says the board did not advertise the meeting where members decided to close the barn to renters for 2026. The board is counter-suing, claiming the renters owe more than $25,000. Our Megan Marshall has been digging into this story for months.
Thank you, Phyllis. For decades, horse owners have called the Washington County Fairgrounds home. But last year, the Fair Board voted to shut them out, giving renters what one former board member says was not enough time to relocate. Now, both sides are suing each other. I've spent months digging into this story, submitting public record requests to both the City of Marietta and the Fair Board, obtaining meeting notices, agendas, minutes, financial records, and city billing records. What I found shows why renters are now asking a judge to invalidate the Fair Board's decision entirely.
A legal battle is taking place between the Washington County Agricultural and Mechanical Association and 6 former horse stall renters.
We all filed a complaint in the Court of Common Pleas.
Fred Boyd is a former Fair Board president and has trained standardbred racehorses for around 3 decades at the fairgrounds. He and 5 other renters filed a lawsuit against the Fair Board.
I determined, in my opinion, that they have violated the Sunshine Law.
Ohio's Sunshine Law consists of the Open Meetings Act, which requires most meetings of public bodies to be open to the public with advance notice and minutes. At the center of the lawsuit are 2 special meetings. According to minutes from a special Fair Board meeting on July 31st, the board voted to evict renters by December 1st. The public notice for that meeting wasn't posted until August 6th, 5 days after it took place, according to evidence in the lawsuit. At an August 7th meeting, the board rescinded that vote and pushed the deadline back to December 31st, with no public notice posted at all. WTAP has not been able to verify if either meeting was ever posted. Renters are asking a judge to invalidate both meetings, claiming the Fair Board violated Ohio's open meetings law when it voted to remove them.
If they voided the vote, then it would void the notice we got, and that was the purpose of the complaint.
Horse owners did not find out about the decision to not renew stall rentals for 2026 until 9 weeks after the vote on October 9th.
I was upset.
Pretty devastated.
Because no one had came to me, and I thought, and being here 32 years and being on the board, that somebody would have came and said, you know, we're going to close the barns, we're going to do this, do that.
Because these horses are my family. You know, my grandkids come down here and they spend a lot of time with these horses. My kids was raised around them. It kept them off the streets, out of drugs, out of trouble.
The Fair Board said back in December the stall closure is temporary to allow for repairs, but Debbie Wright, a former board member, tells WTAP there was never any talk of that. Wright was on the board until the November Fair Board meeting when her verbal resignation was accepted. In January, separate from this claim, the Fair Board filed its legal response to the lawsuit and countersued. That countersuit claims renters defaulted on rent, violated barn rules, and failed to provide proof of insurance. It is seeking more than $25,000. All 5 renters have since filed their own responses, denying every allegation in the counterclaim and asking a judge to throw it out entirely. Renters Hessen and Boyd say insurance violation letters arrived December 30th, the day before the eviction deadline.
Why would I let my insurance run out when it's on the homeowner's policy? It's renewed the 1st of October.
The counterclaim also alleges, quote, illegal conduct, actions, and misconduct, end quote, but does not specify what that conduct is. WTAP reached out to the Fair Board's attorney for a response, but we have not heard back. Megan Marshall reporting, WTAP News.
But what really triggered the dispute? Tomorrow, Debbie Wright, a former board member, says it wasn't about repairs at all, and WTAP's investigation uncovers records that don't add up. Back to you.